Chronicles 2, or part 2 here, and I'm going to start at chapter 11, verse 13. And what I'm going to tell you here is that I don't know what this word is, but I know it sure isn't this. The word Philistine, okay, I was going to say, why is that highlighted that color? Okay, I double clicked on it. Sorry about that. um, As I said in the last video, this name I know is someplace else. That's why I'm using it. I just didn't I forgot to make myself a note. I forgot to go look for it. So, anyways, what I do have is the word went here in fight. And when I show you the New American Standard Bible that I use, because I have this concordance over here. So when I click on this word, you can see it as this word. But if I click on this word, you can see as stand. Now if we come back here and look, you can see that I've got took right here and stand right here. So both of these two words I have highlighted are actually the same word over here. So when I do look down here and you can see took stand, that was said 5 times and this is 8 times. But actually, they didn't just take a stand, they went to the fight. So I'm changing the word took to went and stand to fight. And then I'm adding these green highlighted words to the text. As you can see, if you're new here, I'm looking for these 3-verse formats. So you can find them yourself going through Psalms 1 through 9. And a lot of times, sometimes in those, you'll find 3 words meaning a group, but a lot of them get based on just 2 major words and then the least amount of small words to connect them. Now, these are my formats that I'm finding. There's no real set rules, is what I'm saying. But what it does prove, though, when you do see it, it does end up becoming pretty much the way they wrote back then. No proper English, and I'm given words like here in violet and all highlighted or all capital and bold. That means for our Creator, Jesus will be in red and the first letter is capitalized. Here, if they're a good person, they get a capital letter at the beginning. If they're bad, they don't get a capital letter. That's easy to reference when you're reading the text, whether they're a good guy or not, if you haven't read the text before. So all the reasons why I'm getting rid of the text, the blue text, is a lot of it's double speak. A lot of it doesn't even matter to us anymore. A lot of it is just not truthful. Why wouldn't they be showing us the original writers' formats? They've covered it up, and you can see that they've added quite a bit here to the text. A lot of these numbers, example, that I've got highlighted in blue text, those numbers nobody listens to, and you cannot trust them. So if somebody says every word in the Bible is true, excuse me, there is not one college in the United States, theologian college, that will teach you that the numbers are correct. Notice here how everything is ending in a 0, okay? You know that if it was true, those numbers wouldn't be like that. When I've got the text highlighted in gray, that means I looked and tried to use that because it's a format, and you can see it's a piece out here in the middle of nowhere, but I still try to find them and I try to add them later maybe they go with something else that might be found maybe 4 chapters later. Um, I just don't try to throw out anything that when I do find them. But this here, this is just, uh, we don't need this text. Um, Here, the yellow highlighted text, I'm adding that word. And down here, when I'm adding a whole verse, I will do this, make it gray lettering and yellow for right now. I will leave the gray lettering until the very final end of the book when I put it all together. What happened there? All to everyone. See, when I'm doing this, I'm not really going to show you in the text that all does mean many. It means everyone. Um, so I just want to point out the ones that I have highlighted in a special color. Where the word Israel is now elders, because David cannot gather all of Israel to himself. So I have to decide on what group he's talking to and when. And it would have been the elders that were leading uh, the elder, because you got to remember there's captains now at this time. And so the thing here for their armies, so there's also, then there's captains that are over the tribe's armies, then there's elders over many of the groups of that descendant. Um, say, like the word Benjamin here, this is a land for Benjamin, but there would have been maybe a few elders from each of these areas. So, because the territory is 10 miles square in a lot of these areas, estimate, that you would had a few elders in a few areas to go to. They also at this time had Levites, okay? Could they be the elders as well? Well, they're actually end up being judges and lawyers and scribes, um, because they had refuge cities that they would run the court system. But the idea here is there's different hierarchies inside their tribe. And I'm going to use the word elders to say that he grabbed the elders together because they were most important. They're going to bring the tent, not the ark, but the tent. And it was Shiloh where it was majorly based at. We don't have anywhere location, true location where this is at. The word Shiloh is, should have been highlighted like this. It's the important place of where they're at. So where is Shiloh for those that are new here? This is the time that I'm talking about right now. David was going to be born in Bethlehem. Hebron, you can see I've got it highlighted here in the text, but Shiloh is up here. Saul, who was king, decided that this here is going to be a city, and it ends up being a bad city. So it ends up being the capital city for Israel, the nation Israel, and then the nation Judah. It will end up become Jerusalem. But David's going to make it Hebron for 7 years. So you have to understand a little bit of, whoops, I better remove that and then put that back up. Up here is Shiloh, and here is Bethel that I was talking about. And you can see the mileage, 10 miles square. Okay. So here's this one's going to be 20 miles. So I guess 10 was kind of small. But that's generally what I'm trying to reference here when I'm speaking. And bring it to Hebron. They were going to bring it to David. Now, why is he in Hebron? Well, the text is that's going to come from a different book. It was when he was fleeing Saul and when he was traveling around. Where did his sons get born? And I think it was at the very first of this book, they had the word Hebron. So I'm using the word Hebron. And it wasn't just anybody that could carry these, it was the Levites, and they just didn't bring the tent. You have to understand what's in the courtyard. The courtyard has a large altar, then it has smaller altars, but there's 12 smaller ones. They have fire stands, they have shovels, they have forks, they've got plates. They've got a lot of things, so it's kind of like everything for his tent. Because, example, the floorboards would have been taken apart and put together. Now, I should have that as a reference, so let me make a note here of floor, and what do I want? I need something else there, but right now I just need that. Because it's important for people to understand that it was portable, and I have counted every board and everything for everybody. And here's an here's a quick example just to let you know what's coming up. In Exodus, I've already went through Exodus, but if I change this one word bars to arches, this we now have as a hip roof that's over the tent for meeting. So when you see that online, you know that that's just wrong anymore. Now, how come I don't have the floor here? Oh, oops, sorry, the blackout. Let me get rid of that until I should be in this room. It's not, I better move on. Yeah, I better move on here. But it shows that they used hooks just inserted into the boards, and then you'd remove the hooks and then you'd stack up the boards. But you got to understand that the boards are going to be too big to be carried by the Levites, but they would have animals that would have like carts to pull these. These boards are 18 inches wide, maybe 2 inches thick, and I think they're 16 foot long. I'm pretty sure something like that. 16 foot long. And then there's going to be 100 of them that's going to go for each side around the tent. So there's a massive movement here that's taking place that people really need to realize when you understand what's all there. So it might be a small verse here, but there's a lot to know in these 3, 4, or these 2 verses alone. On a new cart, see, they're talking about just the ark on a new cart, and the ark is actually a chest, and it has rings on it that you put poles through it that 2 men would carry. So there are things that the Levites are going to carry on their shoulders. The angels, the table, there are going to be a few things that they do carry. And you're wondering, where do they keep these poles? The poles are going to be kept in the tent area. Some are going to be left in the Holy of Holy rooms or his meeting room. And the others might be left out in the other area, because you got to remember, most of these are, because you got to carry the altars as well. So it was kind of, they have rings on those as well. So, but they were made of brass, so did you don't need those um, wooden poles uh, covered in gold like you would for the objects inside his meeting room. Even the lampstand would have been carried by poles. So it doesn't mention how it had been carried, but I'm just thinking everything else in there is carried. It's not a threshing floor. Example, when it's talking about a threshing floor, it's wheat that they're taking the hulls off of to get to the seed. And you would not do that on a floor. It needs to be a hill where it's going to be most windy. So when they pitch it up in the air, it's blowing this, what they call shaft, off. And then the seeds will fall back down, or the wheat itself will fall down. So it's a hill. Okay. And that's a lot of times people are confusing a hill. And I know the hills aren't what's known as a mount, but when they're a hill, but they don't have like a very much of a peak, they'll have like a area that's can be considered a mount. It's got a flat surface, or but the object here is they needed to level this area off where they're at. So because when they set the house up, there's there's much to know about the house, but I'm supposed to have that blocked so you can't hear that. You can see me, but all of a sudden it should go quiet. So if it didn't make it, sorry. Hold it steady because it was sliding. I needed the word sliding because I know the chest was being on poles. It wasn't because the ox nearly upset it. That's just not truthful. This is just a lie here. Okay. I'm taking the word anger here and moving it here, and then I'm changing it to be angry. And had to be before David, not just because it's because David is going to get worried here. Not David's going to get angry, but he's going to be worried about what he should be doing. This is how actually Jerusalem is founded. So when you look at all texts before David talking about Jebusites or people from Jerusalem, Jerusalem does not exist until David actually, he's going to end up buying this hill. He's going to have it leveled, and he's getting it prepared to make a house there. And this is, he was taking it to Hebron, but it stops. And so this is very important to understand where it's stopping and how come it's stopping. And then he is now worried about this. So the thing here is this guy ends up dying, even though he is a good guy. He ends up dying. And it wasn't why these outbursts against. I mean, come on now, people. There's oversalted words here. Next, I don't think there's too much difficulties here in understanding what I'm doing here. I needed the word set up, remained on the hill, because when you're reading the text and putting it together, once you get it doesn't say this, so I have to use the word setup. I mean, I tried to find it here. I looked up and looked down, and it's just not there. So I have to use the word, and they set it up. Not just that it remained with the family, like the whole family's going to have this special tent, and no, um, that's just not true either. But this was the owner of the land at that time. And as you can see, I'm removing some of this stuff that they're adding onto in the name. So now, why did I change the city? Because it's a city and it's actually Lebanon, because they're going to get the wood from Lebanon. So it's the king, and the king from Lebanon. Oops, this is um that way these are the two words for this verse. And I'm shortening his name down. And what you have here is the king from Lebanon that's going to send builders to build him a house. Now, why are they so friendly with Lebanon? Well, that's because they're the descendants from Shem. Okay, so you need to always have a lot of knowledge to be able to build up these verses and understand who is who when if you're going to try to find these verses. Uh, Not search, they were going to battle. So this is completely adding, because the word search is just not true. And what I did was I'm moving this one verse, just this, which is this right here. I'm moving up here. And I haven't decided which of these is the more truthful tribe land that they were battling, because David's going to clean them out and take them down a lot farther, um, down past this river is where they're at. They're going to end up, David's going to chase them down. But literally, they're going to overtake these cities here, and it's going to it was part of Judah. And when they went through, they ran down here, and then somewhere in these 200 to 300 years, we don't know, they ended up coming back up in here. Now, the thing here is that this is the hill country area, and this along the coastline is ramping up. So it's not as lush as up and through here, but um, yeah, people could live along this area here. It isn't like this land is flat, but it is a lot more closer to the sea level than in this area here. Um, like I said, I didn't know where that city was at. I just know that we have to keep to the land that they were assigned uh, for the descendants from that uh, son from Israel. Um, and it was to ask is a petition, so you should already have that burned in your head by now. Um, they battled because we have to have them being defeated, and David defeated them. They came with, well, the only thing is here again, a location that's just not in some of this, like these four letters here, that's supposed to be a God's name. Um, that's not true, but that's what they gave another strange God's name. Here I'm still deciding on it as well, but it wasn't a valley. Uh, the valley is very small location when you have this hill rolling and then a small valley. So the people would have lived more in the hills than in the valley. Um, said commanded after was directly, did not go directly to them. Um, you have to understand when you're reading the story why some of these words are being put in, and I don't think this is all difficult when you understand this. That they will go up, no, they will go directly to them, or do not go directly to them, or go up after them. Well, that's because I have to add what's going on here. When I did this, um, they're raiding up here. They're raiding. So they're back from a raid, which means there's not a lot of people, but they would raid and they set up like garrisons. It's not in this text, but they had garrisons that they would set up and they'd send out raids to gather whatever they wanted to steal, food, whatever. But then they'd bring them back. So it's on the way back. So this, when it's called a battle, yeah, right here, battle. I knew it was in there someplace. It wasn't really a force against a force. A force is smaller than an army, and a force is a good sized group. But these would have been raiders that they went out, and I don't know if I should change the word from battle to fight. I'm very particular of each word meaning exactly what it means at that time, but a lot of times that will need to be adjusted later. These I have to have check location because I'm not thinking it's this, I'm thinking it's this here because I showed you this map and you can see that we know that Gaza exists in other text. These three areas are still, those are still show the fortifications or what they had even to today. They were very well built up. So you know the Philistines at the time had established themselves as we own this. And that's why, um, let's see what kind of time. Okay. The story is going to go to where uh, the Saul is king, and then David's going to be made king. And the reason why is because our Creator is going to assign him to bring everybody back together. It's like Israel has fallen apart. They didn't have um, commanders that were leading armies that would go and grab all 12 tribes and come after them and get them out. That seems to have fallen apart at that time. Now, this is David's now going to be talking about now that David had a house in the city of Jerusalem. So because it's the city of David, they call it a lot, but actually there's going to be times when their kings are going to get buried. They're getting buried at the city of David, which means Bethlehem. Here it's specifically meaning Jerusalem by the place where his tent is at. Okay. Um, and not just Israel, individual tribes. This means tribes. But it's not like all million of them are going to be gathered together. So from each, though, yes, to bring up his tent. And these don't need to be here. David being a king, he summons people, and these are the priests at this time. And I don't know if they had fallen apart or away from our Creator at Shiloh. So, because of the prestige that it would have had, like when they came into the Promised Land, that's where he had, that's the best location I can say that when they come in and they're traveling, they're finally on the hill country that Okay, here, I'm here, and now go conquer. That's what's so important about Shiloh. But it seems like David is willing to move it because there's no established. Saul had made Bethel the capital um, up here and in between here, because I think this is Hebron. I've got, but down here is Bethlehem. Whoops, get rid of me here real quick so you can see Bethlehem is down here. And we're talking Shiloh from here to here. And this can't be, if this is 10 miles, this is, yeah, 10 miles. It's not even going to be moved 10 miles. Okay. So, but that's how Jerusalem got established. And it's these two guys that are going to carry the chest, which has the 12 commandments in them. Now you're going to see, what the heck did I just say? Well, there are 12 commandments when you actually study the text. Okay. So there's the 12. And we'll get rid of that. And it's his items, and this should have been yellow. So I'm actually correcting some of the text as I'm going through here, or edits for the future. Because when I did this, everything was in my head here. Now, here, they came to the city of David, and this is the daughter of Saul, who he never married. Okay. So this is, yeah, it even says the daughter of Saul here looked out the window. That means they have the knowledge of how to build a fort. Or David had this house that she looked out of. They never married. Okay. Never was his wife. David finished offering a burnt offering. David cannot offer anything on the altar. That's the priest, why they were anointed. They're the only ones that can go into the courtyard. Dwelt to live. It wasn't cedar, the house made out of wood, because they're going to use two different type of woods. Cedar is used for the longest pieces, because cedar goes straight. Okay. There's other woods. Cypress does go straight as well. So it's these two trees that are chopped down. So I have to use the word wood coming here, in here. And then it's not under the curtains. It's under the hides, meaning the roof is made of hides. Not that it's under, how can it be under curtains like that? There's no curtains made over. He had curtains going around, and the curtain was opening to the south. So you have the direction of the doors for the tent for meeting, which the house also is going to be the doors face south. And you won't find that in any of your searches on the web, or as of this time. All to what? Okay, I got it highlighted for a reason. So let me go look for it here. This is 17.2, so 17.1, 17.2, and the word all. Oh, it's two, so do all. Now down here, like you can see how many times the word all is used, 4,000 times. But the word what, let's see, whatever, whenever. So you can see that I'm not that far away from using the wrong word here completely. But it is a word that should be searched. And a lot of these that you when I'm just doing green like this, that you should search them and see why I'm saying it's close enough to those words that I'm using or have found that they've come close to using in other instances. Um, hmm. Moving to the letter I. I'm not seeing much that needs to be discussed here. Set up or raise up. He doesn't set up descendants. He's going to raise up one of your descendants. And we're going to be talking about Jesus now. And it'll be one of your sons to be established, and he will build up his kingdom. So this is some of the first text that ever shows up about Jesus, and you see that the text will be highlighted in red, and then when our Creator is speaking, I've got all his words highlighted, or all in bold. This is probably something that, well, I know it's new. Nobody else honors and respects our Creator by using uh, lettering and coloring like this. Well, I took something for my sinuses. They're kind of it's kind of bothering my throat right now. Um, and according to order, this is going to be 1715. Let me. Okay, that's why I have it highlighted. You can see that. Oh, that's the first recording. There's nothing there, and the second time is recording. Now this is pretty much um, Strong's opinion of which word is the most important in the verse. Okay. Now the thing here is every time they add text to the Bible, they put it as italic, but the next time they go through, they'll make that italic upright and say the new italic words are the words that they're adding. You might have 10,000, maybe 40,000, maybe even 100,000 new words into the text since they've started this. And from Psalm's time, or from Strong's time, maybe they started adding these. So I've tried to go back and look at Strong's, and that's why I found our Creator's Hidden Formats, and those have rules to say that can anything be done from Strong's text? Unbelievable. It's that the format there is just shocking. I mean, once you understand that it's true, it's really not unbelievable. But when I started seeing it, it was kind of like I can't. This is it's shocking. But what I need to do is get back online here, get over here, and just say, hey, I needed to change the word order because I needed that, even though there's no word there. I just wanted to make sure that that was shown to you. I needed to add the word at gates because that's where David went and sat. He can't get inside the courtyard. He is not allowed, even as king. As king, though, he can request a peace offering for the whole nation, or if there's a lot of sinning going on by all the nation, that he can have the high priest, which is his priest, to act for the whole nation as one, and to work on the larger altar, or make his offerings on the larger altar. So David can request, but he can't get in. Okay, and now 16 is, what was the word what? Now, when I show it here, and I've got the word why, And you can see that the word why is not down here. So, but you can see that's pretty much the what, why, when type of grouping. So I use the word why. David's talking to him, not what is from my house. His house is actually his sons. He's talking about descendants. We know that he's just talking about one from your sons. So let's be correct here. And he's asking a question when you see, because I had to say it was a question that he's asking because I got the question mark down here, which covers these here. They too had it as a question. But the thing here is why from my sons. He's talking to them because he's understanding he's going to be a king forever in heaven. So there's a lot of thoughts going in David's mind here. And it will be the greatest, yet he will come from me. All these words that I'm changing here have to do with the words that were told just above. I'm going to call it quits here, and I think I will start here at 17:17. I want to go over this word here in the next video.